Before we begin, it's crucial to understand the purpose of this presentation. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial advice, nor is it an encouragement to gamble. The content is intended to explain the mathematical principles and probabilities behind casino games. All forms of gambling involve significant risk, and the outcomes are based on chance. You should never risk money that you cannot afford to lose. Please be aware of the laws in your jurisdiction and always play responsibly. You walk through those sliding glass doors and it hits you all at once. The sound, a symphony of ringing bells, shuffling cards, and distant cheers. The lights, a dazzling hypnotic pulse of color from 1,000 different machines. The energy, a palpable buzz of hope and excitement. You've got a little cash in your pocket set aside for a good time and entertainment budget for the night. But then you stop. You look around at the sprawling floor, at the dozens of different tables, each with its own strange layout and unspoken rules. You see the endless rows of slot machines, each one a mystery box of symbols and sounds. And a single paralyzing thought cuts through the noise. What am I even looking at? It's a feeling almost everyone has the first time they enter a casino. It's the feeling of being an outsider in a world that seems to have its own secret language. You see people confidently placing bets, interacting with dealers, celebrating wins, and you feel like you've missed the orientation day. The fear isn't just about losing money. It's about looking foolish, making a mistake, or sitting down at a game so complex you can't even follow along. So what do most people do? They walk over to the most familiar, least intimidating thing they can find, a slot machine. They put their money in, press a button, and hope for the best, with absolutely no idea what's happening behind the screen. This series is designed to solve that problem forever. This isn't about secret systems or strategies to beat the house. Let's be perfectly clear. The casino is a business with a business model designed for long-term profitability. But what if you could understand that business model? What if you could walk onto any casino floor, look at any game, from blackjack to roulette, craps to baccarat, and know exactly how it works, what the odds are, and why the casino has an advantage? What if you could make informed decisions about how to use your entertainment budget, choosing games not based on flashing lights, but on a clear understanding of the math? That is the power we're going to give you. We are going to demystify the entire casino experience. We're going to pull back the curtain and reveal the one concept that governs every single bet, every spin, and every hand: the house edge. Think of the house edge as an invisible tax on every bet you make. It's a small mathematical advantage that the casino builds into the rules of every game. It's the reason that, over millions of bets from thousands of people, the casino's revenue is a statistical certainty. It's not magic, it's just math. But here's the fascinating part that most people never learn. That tax is not the same for every game. The house edge on some bets is incredibly high, almost like paying a 25% sales tax on your wager. On other games, it can be as low as half of 1%. Knowing the difference between those two scenarios is the single most important piece of knowledge you can have. It's the difference between your entertainment money lasting for hours of fun or disappearing in 15 minutes. It's the difference between playing a game of skill and probability and simply feeding money into a machine with terrible potential returns. Over this series, we will break down every major casino game. We'll show you the best bets, the worst bets, and most importantly, we will explain the why behind it all. But before we can analyze the complex games, we have to start with the building blocks. We need to understand the fundamental language of the casino, the language of probability. Our brains, for all their amazing power, are notoriously bad at intuitively understanding probability. We see patterns where there are none. We believe in hot streaks and cold streaks. Even when we're dealing with completely independent events, we fall for something called the gambler's fallacy. This is the mistaken belief that if something happens more frequently than normal during a given period, it will happen less frequently in the future. For example, if a coin flip lands on heads 10 times in a row, our brain screams that it's due to be tails. But the coin has no memory. The odds on the next flip are, and always will be, exactly 50-50. The casino is built on these quirks of human psychology. But once you replace flawed intuition with simple, clear math, the entire picture changes. Let's start with that coin flip. A 50% chance of heads, 50% chance of tails. In a perfectly fair world, if you bet $1 on heads, you'd win $1 if it lands on heads, and lose $1 if it lands on tails. If you did this a million times, you'd expect to end up almost exactly where you started. Now let's invent a casino game called the coin flip. The rule is simple. You bet $1 on heads. If it's heads, the casino pays you 95 cents. If it's tails, you lose your full dollar. See what happened? The odds of winning are still 50 to 50. Nothing about the coin changed, but the payout changed. By slightly altering the payout, the casino has created a house edge. For every $2 bet on average, the casino will pay out $1.90 and keep 10 cents. That 5-cent difference on your $1 bet is their advantage. It seems tiny, but multiply that by millions of bets every single day, and you can begin to understand the economic engine of a casino. Every single game, in one way or another, is just a more complex version of this simple principle. Instead of a coin with two sides, a roulette wheel has 38 pockets. A deck of cards has 52 unique outcomes. A pair of dice has 36 possible combinations. The complexity is designed to obscure the simple math, to make it harder for your brain to calculate the true odds versus the payouts being offered. When you play blackjack, you're not just trying to get 21. You're navigating a series of probabilities based on the cards you can see versus the 52 possibilities in the deck. When you bet on a single number in roulette, you have a 1 in 38 chance of winning, but the casino only pays you 35 to 1. That small difference between the true odds and the payout odds is their profit margin. It's the house edge, right there in plain sight if you just know how to look for it. The goal of this series is to teach you how to see it everywhere, to strip away the intimidation and replace it with comprehension. We're going to turn confusion into confidence. You will learn why a blackjack player who understands basic strategy faces a house edge of less than 1%, while a slot machine player might be facing an edge of 5%, 10%, or even more. You'll understand why some bets at the craps table are among the best in the casino, while others, just inches away on the same felt, are some of the absolute worst. This knowledge doesn't make you immune to losing. Let's be clear, the odds are still in the house's favor, but it empowers you to be a smarter consumer. It allows you to maximize your entertainment value, to understand the risks you're taking, and to appreciate the intricate mathematical design of the games you're playing. So if you're ready to stop being a passive spectator and start being an informed participant, you're in the right place. We're about to begin a journey from the basics of dice and cards all the way to the core strategies of the most popular games on the floor. It's time to finally understand the odds. So let's start with the single most important concept in any casino, the one that underpins every single game, every spin, and every hand dealt. It's the invisible architecture of the entire building. It's called the house edge. You might have heard the phrase, "The house always wins." And while that's not strictly true for every individual player in the short term, people do walk out with winnings every single day. The concept behind that phrase is absolutely mathematically, unshakably true over the long run. The house edge is the reason why. Think of it like this. Imagine we decide to play a simple coin flipping game. You bet $1 on heads. I flip a fair coin. If it lands on tails, I take your dollar. If it lands on heads, you win. But I only pay you 95 cents. We could play this all day. You might win 5 times in a row. You might lose 5 times in a row. In the short term, the results will feel random. But if we stood there and played this game for a million flips, something predictable would start to happen. For every dollar you bet, you'd be losing on average 2.5 cents. That 2.5 cents, that's my edge. That is, in its simplest form, the business model of a casino. It's not about tricking you. It's not about rigged wheels or marked cards. It's about a small, persistent, mathematical advantage built into the very rules and payouts of every game. It's a statistical tax on every bet placed, and it ensures that over millions of bets from thousands of players, the casino will come out ahead. The perfect place to see this in action is at the roulette table. It's elegant, it's simple to understand, and it lays the math bare for everyone to see. Let's look at an American roulette wheel. You see the numbers 1 through 36, half red, half black. But you also see 2 green pockets, a 0 and a double 0. That gives us a total of 38 pockets where the little white ball can land. Now let's say you want to make the most straightforward bet possible. You place a chip on the number 17. You have 1 winning number and 37 losing numbers. The actual true odds of you winning are 37 to 1. If you played 38 spins and won just once, you'd break even if you were paid the true odds. But that's not what the casino pays. Look at the felt. A winning bet on a single number pays 35 to 1. And right there, in that tiny gap between the true odds of 37 to 1 and the payout odds of 35 to 1, is the entire profit model of the game. Let's do the math, and don't worry, it's simple. For every 38 spins on average, you'll lose 37 times and you'll win once. So you'll lose $37 and you'll win $35. That leaves you with a net loss of $2. $2 loss for every $38 you bet. If you divide 2 by 38, you get 0.0526. Or, as it's more commonly known, a house edge of 5.26%. What that number means is this. For every $100 that gets bet on that roulette table over a long enough timeline, the casino expects to hold on to about $5.26. It doesn't mean you will lose exactly that amount. You could hit your number on the first spin and walk away with a huge profit. Or you could play for an hour and not hit it once. But the math underneath is always grinding away, ensuring that the law of large numbers eventually wins. And here's the first crucial takeaway for any aspiring informed player. This edge is not the same for every game. Not even close. That 5.26% on roulette is actually quite high compared to other games. Some bets in craps have an edge under 1.5%. Blackjack, played with perfect basic strategy, can have an edge of less than 0.5%. On the other end of the spectrum, games like Keno can have a house edge of 25% or more. Choosing which game to play is the first and most powerful decision you can make, because you are literally choosing the size of the mathematical hill you have to climb. But to really grasp this, we need to talk about the engine that makes the house edge work: randomness. And more importantly, how our human brains are wired to misunderstand it. This brings us to one of the most powerful psychological traps in the entire casino: the gambler's fallacy. Picture the roulette wheel again. You're watching the history board, the little screen that shows the last 20 numbers that have come up. You see a long string of red numbers. Red, 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 red 10 times in a row. Every fiber of your being, every instinct you have, is screaming at you that the next number has to be black. Black is due. The board needs to balance itself out. This feeling is incredibly common. It's also completely wrong. The roulette wheel has no memory. The ball has no memory. The universe does not keep a tally and try to even things out. Each spin is a completely independent, isolated event. The odds of the ball landing on black on the next spin are exactly the same as they were on the first spin, and the spin before that, 18 chances out of 38. The previous 10 red numbers have absolutely zero influence on the 11th spin. Believing they do is the gambler's fallacy. It's the mistaken belief that if something happens more frequently than normal during a given period, it will happen less frequently in the future. It's like flipping a coin. If I get 5 heads in a row, the odds of the 6th flip being tails are not higher. They are still and will always be 50-50th. The coin doesn't know it's on a streak. Understanding and internalizing this one concept can save you from one of the most common and costly mistakes: chasing losses because you feel like your luck is due to turn around. The math remains the same on every single spin, roll, or hand. Now let's add one more layer of sophistication to our understanding. We have the house edge, which is the long-term price you pay to play. And we have randomness, which governs the outcome of each event. But there's a third concept that dictates what the journey feels like: volatility. Volatility, sometimes called variance, describes the swings in your bankroll. It's the difference between a slow, grinding game and a wild roller coaster ride. Let me explain. A low volatility game is something like Blackjack. You win a lot of hands, you lose a lot of hands. The wins are small, you get paid even money or 3-2 on a blackjack. The swings are generally not that dramatic. You can play for a long time on a relatively small bankroll. A high volatility game is a slot machine, especially one with a massive progressive jackpot. You will have long periods where you do nothing but lose. Spin after spin, your credits just drain away. But you have the small, tantalizing possibility of winning a life-changing amount of money on a single spin. The swings are enormous. You can lose your entire budget in minutes, or very rarely multiply it by 1,000 times. Think of it this way. The house edge is like a very slow, gentle downward slope. Over a long distance, you are always heading slightly downhill. Volatility is the terrain of that slope. A low volatility game is a smooth, paved path. A high volatility game is a rocky, treacherous trail with huge peaks and deep valleys. But both paths are still heading down that same slight decline, dictated by the house edge. Understanding the difference is key to managing your money and your expectations. Are you looking for a long social experience with a better chance to walk away with a small win? A low volatility game like Blackjack might be your preference. Are you looking for the thrill of a long shot bet and the chance at a massive payout, while understanding you'll most likely lose your stake more quickly? A high volatility slot machine might be what you're after. Neither is right or wrong, but they offer vastly different experiences. So let's recap the 3 pillars we've just built. The house edge is the casino's built-in long-term advantage. The gambler's fallacy is the mistaken belief that past random events influence future ones. And volatility is the measure of the financial ups and downs you'll experience while playing. With these concepts firmly in hand, we are no longer just passive observers. We have the foundational knowledge to dissect any game on the casino floor. And that's exactly where we're going next. We're heading back to that elegant spinning wheel of chance, roulette. We're going to break down every single bet you can make, from betting on red or black, to columns and dozens, to the intricate corner and street bets. We will calculate the house edge for each one, and reveal why some bets, despite looking very different, are mathematically identical. And why one specific bet on the American table is considered by many to be the worst of them all. Let's start with the most iconic bet on the board. The straight up. This is where you place your chip on a single number. Say number 17. The payout for hitting this is a thrilling 35 to 1. For every dollar you bet, you get $35 back, plus your original dollar. Sounds incredible, but what are the chances? On an American wheel, there are 38 pockets. So, your chance of that little white ball landing on 17 is exactly 1 in 38. Now, let's do the math that the casino has been doing for centuries. This is the secret sauce. Imagine you make this $1 bet on number 17 38 times in a row. Statistically, over this long run, you're expected to win once and lose 37 times. When you win that one time, the casino pays you $35. But over those 37 losses, you've paid the casino $37. So after 38 spins, you've spent $37 and won $35. You are down $2. To find the house edge, we just divide that $2 loss by the total amount you wagered over those 38 spins, which was $38. 2 divided by 38 is approximately 0.0526, or as a percentage, 5.26%. This number is the lifeblood of the casino. It's a small, almost invisible tax on every single bet, a statistical certainty that ensures over millions of spins, the house always comes out ahead. It's not magic, it's just math. Okay, so that's a single number. What about a split bet, where you place a chip on the line between two numbers like 8 and 9? Now you have 2 ways to win. The casino knows this, so they adjust the payout. A split bet pays 17 to 1. It's less than the 35 to 1 for a straight up, but you're covering twice as many numbers. So is it a better bet? Let's run the numbers again. Your probability of winning is now 2 out of 38. The probability of losing is 36 out of 38. Let's place a $1 bet on this split 38 times. Statistically, you'll win twice and lose 36 times. For your 2 wins, the casino pays you $17 each time, for a total of $34. For your 36 losses, you've paid the casino $36. So after 38 spins, you've spent 36 and won 34. You are once again down $2. $2 divided by 38 total bets gives us 5.26%. It's the exact same house edge. It's a different bet, a different payout, a different feeling of risk, but the underlying mathematical disadvantage to the player is identical. Are you seeing the pattern? Let's try a street bet, covering 3 numbers in a row like 1, 2, and 3. The payout is 11 to 1. Your chance of winning is 3 in 38. Let's do the math quickly. Over 38 spins, you'd expect to win 3 times. 3 wins at $11 each is $33. You'd expect to lose the other 35 times, costing you $35. You are down, you guessed it, $2. The house edge is 5.26%. Corner bet on 4 numbers pays 8 to 1. 4 wins and 38 spins would get you $32. Your 34 losses would cost you $34. A $2 deficit, 5.26%. This elegant, brutal consistency is the genius of the game's design. The casino offers you a buffet of options that feel wildly different. A long-shot straight-up bet for a massive payout, or a safer-feeling corner bet for a smaller one. But behind the curtain, they are all mathematically engineered to drain your money at the exact same rate. What about the outside bets? The ones that feel like a coin flip? Red or black? Odd or even? Low numbers 1 through 18, or high numbers 19 through 36. These pay 1 to 1 or even money. You bet $1, you win $1. This feels like the fairest bet of all. 50-50, right? Wrong. This is where those 2 green pockets, the 0 and the 00, do their most important work. There are 18 red numbers and 18 black numbers. If those were the only pockets, it would be a fair game. But there are also 2 green pockets. So when you bet on red, you don't have an 18 in 36 chance of winning. You have an 18 in 38 chance. There are 20 ways for you to lose the 18 black numbers, plus the 0 and the double 0. Let's do the math one last time for these even money bets. Imagine you bet $1 on Roulette for 38 spins. Statistically, you'll win 18 times, earning you $18. But you'll lose 20 times, costing you $20. After all that action, you're down $2. $2 divided by 38 total bets is 5.26%. Even the safest looking bet on the entire board carries the exact same mathematical burden as the riskiest one. It's a masterpiece of financial design. But I did mention that there was one bet that breaks this beautiful, terrifying consistency. One bet that is, by the numbers, significantly worse than all the others. It's known as the 5-number bet, or the basket bet. It's only available on the American 00 wheel, and it's a single bet that covers the 0, the double 0, and the numbers 1, 2, and 3. You have 5 numbers working for you. The payout? 6-1. Now something should immediately feel off. A 4-number bet pays 8-1. A 6-number bet, which we call a line bet, pays 5-1. This 5-number bet paying 6-1 seems to break the pattern. And it does, but not in your favor. Let's run the calculation. You have 5 ways to win out of 38 pockets. The payout is 6-1. Imagine our 38 $1 bets. You'd expect to win 5 times. 5 wins at $6 each gets you $30. You'd expect to lose the other 33 times, costing you $33. Wait a second. $30 in winnings, $33 in losses. You're not down $2 anymore. You're down $3. $3 divided by a total wager of $38 is 0.0789. The house edge on this one specific bet isn't 5.26%. It's 7.89%. It is, by a huge margin, the single worst bet on the roulette table. It's a statistical trap, a sucker bet hidden in plain sight, created by a simple rounding down of the payout that dramatically shifts the odds further into the casino's favor. So, on an American wheel, almost every bet you can make carries a 5.26% house edge, except for one particularly bad one. But what if we could change the wheel itself? What if we could remove just one of those 38 pockets? This brings us to European roulette. At first glance, it looks almost identical. The same red and black numbers, the same layout, the same payouts. But there is one profound, game-changing difference. There is no double 0. There is only a single green 0. This takes the total number of pockets from 38 down to 37. How much of a difference can one little pocket make? Let's find out. Let's go back to our simplest bet. A straight up on number 17. The payout is still 35-1. But your chance of winning is now 1 in 37. Let's do the math. Imagine you bet $1 on 17 for 37 spins. Statistically, you win once and lose 36 times. Your one win pays you $35. Your 36 losses cost you $36. After 37 spins, you've spent 36 and won 35. You are down just $1. Now for the house edge. We take that $1 loss and divide it by the $37 you wagered. 1 divided by 37 is about 0.027, or 2.7%. By simply removing the double 0, the house edge is cut nearly in half. It drops from 5.26% all the way down to 2.7%. Every single bet on the European wheel, from the straight-ups to the splits to the even money red or black, offers the player a far better statistical outcome than its American counterpart. It's still a game with a house advantage. You are still expected to lose over time, but the rate at which you are expected to lose is dramatically slower. So we've seen how roulette is a game of pure chance, where the math is fixed against you from the moment the ball is released. The wheel is a perfect grinding machine, and your only choice is whether to play at the table that grinds you down slowly, or the one that grinds you down twice as fast. But what if I told you there's a game on the casino floor where you're not just a passenger? A game where every decision you make directly alters your chances of winning. Next, we're pulling up a chair at the blackjack table, where we'll uncover the secrets of basic strategy and explore the controversial concept of card counting. So let's pull up to that iconic green felt. The semicircle of players, the quiet intensity, the rhythmic snap of cards being dealt. This is Blackjack or 21, and it stands apart from almost every other game in the casino for one simple reason: your decisions matter profoundly. But before we get into the strategy, we have to tear down the single biggest myth about the game. Your goal is not to get to 21. That's a side quest. Your one and only objective is to beat the dealer. That's it. You can do this in one of 3 ways. First, by having a higher hand total than the dealer without going over 21. Second, by the dealer going over 21, what's called busting, when you have not. Or third, by being dealt a blackjack, an ace and a 10 value card on your first two cards, provided the dealer doesn't also have one. Now, the casino has a subtle, almost invisible advantage built into the very structure of the game. Is this: you have to act first. If you're dealt a 16 and you take another card, you hit, and that card is a 10, you bust. Your hand is over 21. You lose your bet immediately. It doesn't matter if the dealer then plays out their hand and also busts. You already lost. That single rule, the player acts first, is the source of the entire house edge. Without it, the game would favor the player. So, how do we fight back against this built-in disadvantage? We fight back with math. We fight back with something called basic strategy. Basic strategy is not a hunch. It's not a gut feeling. It is a mathematically derived, computer-simulated set of optimal decisions for every single hand you could possibly be dealt, against every single card the dealer could possibly be showing. For any situation, there is one correct play: hit, stand, double down, or split, that, over the long run, will lose the least amount of money or win the most. It's a roadmap to playing perfect blackjack. And to use this roadmap, you only need two pieces of information: your hand and the dealer's up card. First, let's understand our own hand. Hands in blackjack are either hard or soft. A hard hand is any hand without an ace, or a hand where the ace must be counted as one to avoid busting. A king and a 7 is a hard 17. A 6, a 5, and an ace is a hard 12. A soft hand contains an ace that can be counted as either 1 or 11, giving you flexibility. An ace and a 6 is a soft 17. Can be a 7 or a 17. You can hit on a soft 17 without any risk of busting, because if you get a 10, your ace just turns into a 1, and your new total is 17. The second piece of information, the dealer's up card, is your window into their potential. This is the most important factor in your decision. You can group the dealer's up card into two categories: bad cards and good cards. The bad cards, or bust cards, are 2 through 6. When the dealer shows one of these, they are in a precarious position. The rules of blackjack force the dealer to hit until they have a total of 17 or more. If their first two cards are a 6 and a 10 for a total of 16, they don't have a choice. They must take another card. And since the most common card value in the deck is 10, they are in serious danger of busting. Conversely, the good cards for the dealer are 7 through ace. When they show one of these, they are much more likely to end up with a strong hand of 17 to 21. So let's put it all together. Basic strategy is a conversation between your hand and the dealer's up card. Let's say you have a hard 16, a 10, and a 6. This is one of the worst hands in blackjack. What do? Well, it depends entirely on the dealer. If the dealer is showing a 7, 8, 9, 10, or ace, they are in a strong position. They are likely to make a good hand. Your 16 is almost certain to lose. Your only hope is to improve. So, basic strategy says you must hit. Yes, you risk busting, but standing is a near certain loss. Hitting gives you a chance, however small, to survive. But what if you have that same dreadful 16 and the dealer is showing a 6? Now the entire situation is flipped. The dealer is weak. They are vulnerable. They have to hit, and they are very likely to bust. In this case, basic strategy tells you to stand. Don't touch it. You are betting on the high probability that the dealer will bust. You're turning the casino's rigid rules against them. This same logic applies to other strategic moves. Take doubling down. This is when you double your initial bet in exchange for receiving just one more card. You do this when you are in a position of maximum advantage. The two most common hands to double down on are a total of 11 or a total of 10. If you have an 11, and the dealer is showing a weak card like a 5 or a 6, basic strategy says to double down every single time. The deck is rich with 10s, and you have a great chance of making 21 while the dealer is struggling. It's a calculated move to press your advantage when the math is on your side. Then there's splitting. If you're dealt two cards of the same value, you have the option to split them into two separate hands, placing an additional bet. The two pairs you always split, no matter what the dealer is showing, are aces and eights. Splitting aces is obvious. You're turning one great starting hand into two. But why eights? Because 2 8s make 16, that terrible hand we just talked about. By splitting them, you dissolve the worst hand in the game and create two new hands, each starting with a much more promising 8. On the flip side, you never split 10s. Why would you break up a 20, a hand that will win almost every time? And you never split 5s. 2 5s make 10. a fantastic hand to double down on. Splitting them would give you 2 weak hands starting with 5. Following this strategy perfectly every single time has a dramatic effect. A casual player relying on gut feelings might be giving the house an edge of 2%, 3%, or even more. By strictly adhering to basic strategy, you can shrink the house edge down to around 0.5%. That's one of the lowest edges in the entire casino. It transforms blackjack from a guessing game into a game of skill. It doesn't mean you'll win every hand. In the short term, anything can happen. But over thousands of hands, playing perfect strategy is the only way to give yourself the best possible mathematical chance. But what if you could go further? What if you could know when the remaining cards in the deck were favorable to you, and bet more in those situations? That is the theory behind the most famous and most misunderstood concept in all of gambling: card counting. First, let's be clear. Card counting is not the magic photographic memory you see in movies like Rain Man. No one is memorizing every single card that has been played. It's much simpler and much more clever than that. It's a system for tracking the ratio of high-value cards to low-value cards left in the shoe. Why does this matter? Because high cards, the 10s, jacks, queens, kings, and aces, are good for the player. They increase your chances of getting a blackjack, which pays a bonus 3-2. They also increase the dealer's chances of busting when they have a stiff hand like a 14, 15, or 16. Low cards, the 2s through a success, are good for the dealer. They help the dealer turn those same stiff hands into winning totals without busting. The most common counting system is called the high-low count. Surprisingly simple. You assign a value to every card you see. All the low cards, 2 through 6, are assigned a value of +1. The neutral cards, 7, 8, and 9, are worth 0. And all the high cards, 10 through ace, are assigned a value of -1. As the cards are dealt on the table, you keep a running total in your head. A 5 comes out, the count is +1. A king comes out next, the count goes back to 0. A 2 and a 4 come out, the count is now +2. A high positive count means that more low cards have been removed from the deck than high cards, which tells you that the remaining deck is rich in high cards. This is a favorable situation for the player. A negative count means the opposite. The deck is now rich in low cards, which favors the dealer. A skilled counter then takes this a step further. They calculate what's called the true count. A running count of +10 is far more significant when there's only one deck left to be played than when there are 5 decks left. So the counter estimates how many decks remain in the shoe and divides the running count by that number. This true count gives them a much more accurate measure of their advantage. So how do they use this information? Primarily through bet sizing. When the true count is negative or neutral, indicating the casino has the edge, the counter will bet the absolute table minimum. They're just treading water, waiting for the tide to turn. But when the count becomes highly positive, when the math says the odds have temporarily swung into the player's favor, they will dramatically increase their bet. This is called a bet spread. They might go from betting $10 a hand to betting $100 or $200 a hand. They are capitalizing on those fleeting moments when they hold a statistical edge. Now for the reality check. Card counting is not illegal. It is not cheating. You are simply using your brain to analyze the information available to you. However, casinos are private businesses, and they have the right to refuse service to anyone for nearly any reason. They consider card counting to be a threat to their business model, and if they suspect you are doing it, they will ask you to stop playing blackjack, or ask you to leave the casino entirely. It is a constant cat-and-mouse game. It requires immense concentration, the ability to disguise your bet spread, and the discipline to play for hours on end, often through long losing streaks, all while appearing like a casual tourist. The edge you can gain is tiny, maybe 1% over the house. It's not a path to instant riches. It's a statistical grind. Blackjack, then, is a fascinating spectrum. At one end, you have the casual player enjoying the game but giving up a significant edge. In the middle, you have the disciplined basic strategy player, who has used knowledge to reduce the house edge to a razor-thin margin. And at the far end, you have the card counter, attempting the difficult feat of turning that margin, ever so slightly, in their own favor. It truly is a game where knowledge is power. But what about a game that isn't about you versus the house, but you versus everyone else at the table? A game of psychology, bluffing, and reading your opponents as much as you read the cards? Next, we're going all in at the poker table to see if we can separate the math from the myth. Poker is a different beast entirely. It's a coliseum of the mind, where you're not fighting a mathematical certainty like the house edge. You're fighting human nature itself. Greed, fear, ego, and deception are all sitting at the table with you, disguised as friendly faces. The cards are just the tools. The real game is played in the 6 inches of space between your ears. To understand it, we have to start with the undisputed king of the felt, Texas Hold'em. The rules are deceptively simple, which is why it's so popular. The goal is to make the best possible 5-card hand using any combination of the 2 cards you're dealt face down, your whole cards, and the 5 community cards that will eventually be dealt face up in the middle of the table. The action starts before any cards are even seen. 2 players are forced to make bets, called the small blind and the big blind, to get some money in the pot and start the action. Then, everyone gets their 2 secret whole cards. The first round of betting begins. You can look at your 2 cards and decide, are they good enough to play? You can call the big blind to match the bet, raise to increase it, or fold to throw your hand away and wait for the next one. Once that first betting round is over, the dealer lays out 3 community cards face up. This is called the flop. Suddenly, everyone has much more information. You now see 5 of the 7 total cards you'll get to use. This new information sparks another round of betting. Then comes the 4th community card, the turn, followed by more betting. And finally, the 5th and final community card, the river, and one last climatic round of betting. If there's more than 1 player left, it's time for the showdown. Everyone turns their cards over, and the best 5-card hand takes the pot. That's the flow. But the strategy, the real meat of the game, lies in the decisions you make during those betting rounds. And those decisions are a delicate dance between math and psychology. Let's start with the math, because it's the foundation upon which everything else is built. The most fundamental concept is understanding your odds. Imagine you're in a hand after the flop. You have 4 hearts in your hand, and you need just 1 more heart to fall on the turn or the river to make a flush. A very strong hand. The question is, should you call a bet to see the next card? To answer this, you need to know 2 things: pot odds and your outs. Let's break down outs first. An out is any card left in the deck that will improve your hand to a likely winner. In our flush draw example, there are 13 hearts in a deck. You can see 2 in your hand and 2 are on the flop. That's 4 hearts accounted for. That means there are 9 hearts still left in the deck. You have 9 outs. Now, how do you turn those 9 outs into a useful percentage? Here's a brilliant shortcut beginners can use called the rule of 2 and 4. If you're on the flop with 2 cards still to come, you multiply your number of outs by 4. So, with 9 outs, you have roughly a 36% chance of hitting your flush by the river. If you're on the turn with only 1 card left to come, you multiply your outs by 2. That's an 18% chance of hitting it on that final card. This percentage is your weapon. You use it to fight the pot odds. Pot odds are simply the ratio of the money in the pot compared to the amount you have to bet. If there's $100 in the pot and your opponent bets $20, the pot is now $120. It costs you $20 to potentially win $120. That's 6 to 1 odds. You're risking $1 to win 6. To make this a sound call, the odds of you winning the hand should be better than the odds the pot is giving you. It's a risk-reward calculation happening in real time. If your chance of winning is 36%, and the pot is offering you a great price, it's a logical call. If the bet is huge and the pot is small, the math tells you to fold and save your chips for a better spot. But here's the beautiful, terrifying thing about poker. Your opponent knows this math too. And they know that you know. This is where the game transcends simple calculation and becomes a war of information. What if you don't have a good hand, but you can represent one? This is bluffing. A bluff isn't just a wild bet made on a prayer. A successful bluff is a story. You tell a story with your betting patterns. You bet in a way that makes your opponent believe you hit that flush, even when you have absolutely nothing. You're trying to make them fold a better hand by planting a seed of doubt. Conversely, you're constantly trying to decipher the story your opponents are telling. Are they betting big because they have a monster hand? Or are they trying to push you out of the pot? This is where the idea of tells comes in. Movies love to show a player's eye twitching or a bead of sweat giving away a bluff. In reality, reliable physical tells are rare. The most valuable tells are in a player's betting patterns. Does a player only raise when they have premium cards? Do they always check when they're unsure? Paying attention to these habits over time gives you a massive information advantage. Another critical element beginners often miss is position. Where you are seated in relation to the dealer button is monumentally important. If you're one of the first to act, you have to make a decision with almost no information. But if you're the last to act, You get to see what every single other player does before it's your turn. They've given you free information. You saw who checked, who bet, who raised. Acting last is like having a superpower. It allows you to control the size of the pot and bluff more effectively because you have the final say. Now, you might be wondering, if players are just playing against each other, how does the casino make money? They do it by taking a rake. The rake is a small commission, usually between 2.5% and 10% of the pot, that the house takes from each hand as payment for hosting the game. It's capped at a few dollars, but it adds up. This means that to be a successful poker player over the long term, you don't just have to be better than your opponents. You have to be good enough to beat them and overcome the constant slow drain of the rake. The power of combining these elements, the math, the psychology, the position, was never more apparent than in 2003. An amateur player from Tennessee, an accountant named Chris Moneymaker, won a $86 online satellite tournament. That victory earned him a seat in the $10,000 World Series of Poker main event in Las Vegas. He was an unknown, a hobbyist swimming with the world's most dangerous sharks. But he played a fearless, aggressive style. He understood the odds, but he also understood people. In one of the most famous hands in poker history, he ran a massive, audacious bluff against a seasoned pro, putting all his tournament life on the line with nothing but a busted draw. His opponent folded the winning hand. Moneymaker went on to win the whole thing, turning his $86 into $2.5 million and inspiring a global poker boom. His story proves that while luck determines the outcome of any single hand, skill and strategy are what tend to dictate success over time. Poker stands alone in the casino, a game where you have a tangible agency, where your decisions, your reads, and your nerve directly influence the outcome. It's less a game of chance and more a game of incomplete information. But what if you want to leave the quiet intensity of the poker table for the loudest, most energetic game in the entire casino? A game where a single roll of the dice can make a whole crowd of strangers cheer like they just won the Super Bowl? Next, we're heading to the craps table to decode the chaos and find the numbers that truly matter. The first time you walk up to a craps table, it feels less like a game and more like a riot. It's a symphony of chaos conducted by 4 casino employees. A long felt table covered in what looks like ancient hieroglyphics, and a dozen people yelling numbers in slang you've never heard before. It's loud, it's fast, and it's intimidating. But beneath all that noise is a game built on a surprisingly simple foundation. And hidden within that simple foundation is one of the single best statistical opportunities you can find on a casino floor. So let's cut through the noise. At its core, craps is just a game of betting on the outcome of a pair of dice, rolled by one of the players known as the shooter. Everything on that table, every single bet, is just a different way of predicting what numbers will come up. To understand it, we only need to focus on one single bet to start: the pass line. It's the most fundamental bet in the game, and it's the one most players are making. When you see a whole group of people high-fiving and cheering together, it's usually because the pass line just won. The game begins with what's called the come-out roll. This is the shooter's first roll of the dice. If you've placed a bet on the pass line, there are only 3 things that can happen. First, the shooter could roll a 7 or an 11. This is called a natural, and it's an instant win for everyone on the pass line. The round is over before it even really begins, you get paid even money, and the shooter rolls again. The second possibility is that the shooter rolls a 2, a 3, or a 12. This is called craps, and it's an instant loss for the pass line. The house takes the bet, the round is over, but the same shooter usually gets to roll again. But the third outcome is where the game truly begins. If the shooter rolls any other number, a 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, or 10, that number becomes the point. The dealer will take a small plastic disc or a puck, flip it to the on side, and place it on that number on the table. Now, the objective of the game has completely changed. The shooter's new goal is to roll that point number again. Before they roll a 7, let's say the point is 6. The shooter will keep rolling the dice. If a 6 comes up, everyone on the pass line wins. The crowd erupts, you get paid, and the round is over. But if a 7 comes up before that 6 appears, that's called a 7 out. All pass line bets lose, the dice are passed to the next player, and a new round begins. That's it. That's the entire game in a nutshell. A come-out roll to establish a point and then trying to hit that point again before a 7. The house edge on this basic pass line bet is a very respectable 1.41%. Compared to many other bets in the casino, this is already a solid starting point. Now, on the other side of the coin, you have the don't pass line. This is where you bet against the shooter. You're betting that they will 7 out. It works in the exact opposite way with one tiny crucial difference. On the come-out roll, if a 2 or a 3 is rolled, you win. If a 7 or an 11 is rolled, you lose. But what about the 12? If a 12 is rolled, it's a push. Nothing happens. You don't win, you don't lose, you just get your bet back. This little rule about the 12 is what gives the house its edge on the don't pass bet. Once a point is established, your goal is the reverse of everyone else's. You are now hoping for a 7 to be rolled before the point number comes up again. The house edge on the don't pass line is slightly lower, at 1.36%, but be prepared to be the quiet one at the table when a 7 comes up and everyone else groans. So, you understand the basic bets. But we're here to understand the odds, and this is where craps reveals its secret. After a point is established, the casino allows you to make an additional wager called the odds bet. This is, without exaggeration, the best bet in the entire casino because it has a 0% house edge. Let me repeat that. The house has no mathematical advantage on this specific bet. They pay you out at the true statistical odds of the event happening. Here's how it works. Once the point is established, let's say it's a 10, you can place an additional bet directly behind your original pass line bet. You're betting that the shooter will roll that 10 before they roll a 7. Now let's think about the dice. There are 36 possible combinations with 2 dice. How many ways can you make a 7? There's 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, and then the reverse of each. That's 6 ways. How many ways can you make a 10? There's 4 and 6, 5 and 5, and 6 and 4. That's 3 ways. So, there are 6 ways to lose and only 3 ways to win. The true odds are 6 to 3, which simplifies to 2 to 1 against you. And that is exactly what the casino will pay you if you win your odds bet. 2-1. They take no commission, no fee, nothing. This applies to all the point numbers. If the point is a 4 or 10, the payout is 2 to 1. If the point is a 5 or 9, there are 4 ways to make the number versus 6 ways to make a 7, so the true odds are 3 to 2. If the point is a 6 or 8, there are 5 ways to make the number, so the true odds are 6 to 5. By making this odds bet, you are blending a bet with a 1.41% house edge with a bet that has a 0% house edge. The more money you put on the odds bet relative to your pass line bet, the lower your overall effective house edge becomes. Most casinos will allow you to bet several times your original pass line bet on the odds, drastically reducing the house advantage on your total money in play. This is the core of understanding craps from a numbers perspective. Stick to the pass line or don't pass line, and always back it up with the maximum odds bet you are comfortable with. So what about all those other bets in the middle of the table? The hard 8, the any 7, the horn bet? These are called proposition bets, and for a beginner, they should be treated like the siren's call on the rocks. They offer tantalizingly high payouts, but they come with astronomically high house edges. A 1-roll bet on any 7 pays for 1, which sounds great, but the house edge is a staggering 16.67%. Betting on a hard 8 rolling 2 4s has a house edge of over 9%. These bets are designed to be fun, fast, and very profitable. For the casino, the entire business model of the craps table is funded by these proposition bets, while the casino makes very little from the savvy players who stick to the fundamental line bets with odds. So when you approach that loud, chaotic table, you can now see it with a different set of eyes. You can ignore the 90% of the felt that's designed to distract and confuse. You can tune out the yelling for yo Laven and hard ways. You can focus on that single strip of felt that says pass line. Wait for a point to be set, and then place that second, silent, powerful bet right behind it. You've taken a game that looks like pure, unadulterated chaos and boiled it down to a simple 2-step process with one of the lowest house edges available. You're not just throwing dice. You are engaging with the pure mathematics of probability. But so far, every game we've discussed, baccarat, roulette, craps, has been you against the house. The math is fixed, the odds are set, and the casino is your only opponent. What happens when we change the equation? What if your opponent wasn't the house, but the person sitting right across from you? Next, we're moving from games of pure chance to a game where psychology, strategy, and skill can shift the balance of power. We're heading to the poker room. The poker room feels different. The frantic ringing of slot machines fades into a distant hum. The air here is thicker, charged with quiet concentration. This isn't a place of flashing lights and loud cheers. It's an arena. And in this arena, the fundamental rule of the casino is turned on its head. For the first time on our journey, your primary opponent isn't a mathematical formula baked into a machine or a dealer following a strict set of rules. It's the person staring back at you from across the green felt. This is the single most important concept to grasp about poker. The casino isn't trying to beat you. They are simply providing the venue, the dealer, and the cards. For this service, they take a small percentage of most pots, a fee known as the rake. They don't care who wins or loses any individual hand. They've already secured their profit. Your goal is to win the money that the other players at the table have put into the pot. You are playing against them. This means that for the first time, skill, psychology, and strategy aren't just ways to mitigate your losses. They are the very tools you can use to create a potential advantage. While there are many variations of poker, the undisputed king of the casino floor is No Limit Texas Hold'em. It's the one you see on TV, where a single decision can be worth millions of dollars. But the principles are the same whether you're playing for pocket change or a world championship. The goal is simple: win the pot. And there are two ways to do that. The first is by having the best 5-card hand at the end of all the betting rounds. The second, and far more interesting way, is by making everyone else give up and fold their hands before the end. The language of poker is its hand rankings. This is the absolute foundation. A royal flush, the 10, jack, queen, king, and ace of the same suit, is the best possible hand, an almost mythical combination. Below that, you have a straight flush, 4 of a kind, a full house, a flush, a straight, 3 of a kind, 2 pair, 1 pair, and finally just high card. You don't need to memorize them right now, but understanding this hierarchy is like learning the alphabet before you try to read a book. A hand of Texas Hold'em flows in a distinct rhythm. It begins with 2 players posting forced bets called the blinds to get the action started. Then every player is dealt 2 cards face down. These are your whole cards. They belong only to you. This is the first decision point, the pre-flop round. Based on just these 2 cards, you have to decide: is my hand strong enough to play? Should I just call the blind, raise the bet to scare others away, or fold my hand and wait for a better opportunity? This is the first and arguably most critical filter. Playing too many weak starting hands is the fastest way for a beginner to lose their money. After the first round of betting is complete, the dealer lays out 3 community cards face up in the middle of the table. This is the flop. These cards are shared by everyone. Suddenly, your 2 private cards can combine with these 3 public cards to form a 5-card hand. Maybe you had 2 hearts in your hand, and 2 more hearts just hit the flop. Now you have a flush draw. You're just 1 heart away from a very powerful hand. Or maybe you had an ace and a king, and an ace appears on the flop, giving you top pair. The game has changed, and a new round of betting begins. Next comes the 4th community card, the turn. The picture becomes clearer. That heart you were hoping for might appear, completing your flush. Or a scary-looking card might arrive that could have helped your opponent. The pot grows as another round of betting ensues. Finally, the 5th and last community card is dealt, the river. This is it. All the cards are out. The final hand is set. One last, often dramatic, round of betting takes place. If 2 or more players are still left after this, it's the showdown. Everyone reveals their whole cards, and the player who can make the best 5-card hand using any combination of their 2 cards, and the 5 on the board wins the entire pot. But here's the secret. Most hands of poker never even get to the showdown. They end when one player makes a bet that no one else is willing to call. And this is where poker transforms from a simple card game into a complex battle of wits. You aren't just playing the cards you were dealt. You are playing the story your opponent believes you have. If you bet aggressively, as if you have an unbeatable hand, can you convince someone with a better but not great hand to fold? That's a bluff. It's the most famous move in poker, but it's just one tool in a massive toolbox of strategy. The most powerful weapon in that toolbox is information. And in poker, information is dictated by position. Where you are seated in relation to the dealer button determines when you have to act. The players who act first are at a huge disadvantage because they have to make decisions with the least amount of information. The player in the last position on the button is in the most powerful seat. They get to see what every single other player has done. Did they fold, call, or raise? Before they have to make their own decision. This informational advantage is so significant that professionals will play a much wider range of hands from late position than they would from early position. This leads to the core strategic concept. You have to look beyond your own 2 cards and think, what might my opponents have? You become a detective gathering clues. Did they raise before the flop from an early position? That suggests a very strong hand. Did they just call? Maybe their hand is decent but not amazing. Are they betting big on a flop with 3 cards of the same suit? They might be representing a flush. Every action or inaction tells a piece of a story. Your job is to piece together those clues and decide if their story is more believable than yours. This is also where a little bit of math comes into play, but it's simpler than you think. The most basic concept is pot odds. Imagine the pot has $90 in it, and your opponent bets $10. The total pot is now $100, and it costs you $10 to call. You are getting 10-to-1 odds on your money. So the question is simple. Are your chances of winning the hand better than 1 in 11? If you have that flush draw we talked about, where you have a 1 in 5 chance of hitting it on the next card, calling is the correct mathematical play. It's not a guess. It's a calculated decision based on risk and reward. Over the long run, making decisions where the odds are in your favor is how consistent outcomes are achieved. Even more important is the mental game. Poker is a marathon of patience and discipline. You will be dealt garbage hands over and over again. You will fold. You will watch other people play pots. You will get bored. The ability to maintain discipline and not jump into a bad situation out of boredom is a skill in itself. Then there's the emotional gut punch of a bad beat. When you have a statistically dominant hand and your opponent gets incredibly lucky on the final card to beat you. The emotional response to this, the anger and frustration, is called tilt. Going on tilt is like handing your money directly to your opponents. It clouds your judgment and makes you play recklessly, trying to win back what you lost. The best players in the world are not immune to bad beats, but they are masters of controlling their emotional response to them. This all points to the crucial difference between poker and every other game in the casino. In roulette, the outcome of the last spin has zero impact on the next. In poker, every hand is linked. Your bankroll fluctuates. Your image at the table, are you seen as aggressive or tight and conservative, affects how people play against you. And most importantly, your skill can directly influence the outcome. A lucky player can win a single tournament, but they can't consistently win over the course of a year. Over thousands of hands, luck smooths out, and the player who consistently makes better decisions, manages their emotions, and understands the underlying math will be the one who sees more favorable results. It's a game of long-term strategy masquerading as a game of short-term luck. It's less about the hand you're dealt, and more about how you deal with the hand you're given. The poker room is a quiet, intense battleground of methodical decisions and psychological warfare. But what if you don't have hours to dedicate to one table? What if you crave that instant communal thrill? That single roll of the dice that makes a whole crowd erupt in a cheer or a collective groan? Next, we're leaving the quiet intensity behind and heading to the loudest, most energetic, and often most intimidating table in the entire casino, the craps table. The table is a long, sunken oval, surrounded by high walls to keep the dice from flying off into the crowd. The felt is a bewildering tapestry of numbers, boxes, and cryptic phrases like, "Come," "Don't pass bar," and "Any craps." For casino employees orchestrate the chaos, 2 dealers handling bets on either side, a stickman in the center calling out the rolls and moving the dice with a long, elegant rake, and a boxman sitting opposite, overseeing the game and the chips. But more than anything, it's the sound. It's a constant buzz of conversation, the clatter of chips, the rhythmic chant of the stickman, and then a sudden explosive roar from a dozen people at once. Welcome to craps. On the surface, it's the most complex, jargon-filled, and intimidating game on the casino floor. But I want to let you in on a little secret. At its heart, craps is one of the simplest games you can play, and it offers some of the very best odds in the entire building, if you know where to look. The key is to ignore 90% of what's on the table. All that noise, all those exotic-sounding bets in the middle? For now, consider them distractions. They're background noise. We are going to focus on one single line on the felt. The game revolves around the shooter, the player whose turn it is to roll the dice. The shooter's goal is to win, and in craps, uniquely, almost everyone at the table is betting with the shooter. It's a team sport against the house, which is why it gets so loud and exciting. Everyone wins together and everyone loses together. The entire game begins with a single crucial roll called the come-out roll. This one roll sets the stage for everything that follows. When the shooter makes that first throw, there are only 3 possible outcomes. Outcome 1, they roll a 7 or an 11. This is called a natural. It's an instant win for the shooter and anyone betting with them. The round is over before it even really began. The dealer pays the winners and the shooter gets to do it all over again. Outcome 2, they roll a 2, 3, or 12. This is called craps. It's an instant loss. The round is over. Anyone betting with the shooter loses their wager. But it's the third outcome where the game truly begins. If the shooter rolls any other number, a 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, or 10, that number becomes the point. The dealer will take a small black and white disc, flip it to the white side that says on, and place it on that number on the table layout. Now the game has a new objective. The shooter must roll that point number again before they roll a 7. If they succeed, everyone wins. If they roll a 7 first, what's known as a 7 out, everyone loses. So how do you bet on this? You start with the most fundamental wager in the game, the pass line. It's that long, thick line that wraps around the edge of the table. Before the come-out roll, you place your chip right there. If the shooter rolls a natural 7 or 11, you win even money. Your $5 bet becomes 10. If they roll craps 2, 3, or 12, you lose your bet. If they establish a point, your bet just stays there, waiting. Now you're in it for the long haul. You're hoping they roll that 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, or 10 a second time before that dreaded 7 appears. If they do, you win. If they 7 out, you lose. That's it. That's the core of the game. The house edge on this simple pass line bet is a mere 1.41%. Compare that to the 5.26% on American Roulette or the double-digit edges on some slot machines, and you can see why this game attracts savvy players. Of course, if you can bet with the shooter, you can also bet against them. This is the don't pass line. It's the contrarian bet. On the come-out roll, you're hoping for a 2 or 3 to win. A 7 or 11 is a loss. And a 12 is a push. Or a tie, you don't win or lose. This little rule about the 12 is how the house maintains its edge. If a point is established, your mission is now the opposite of everyone else's. You are praying for a 7. A 7 out is your victory. This is sometimes called betting on the dark side, because you'll be quietly collecting your chips while the rest of the table groans in defeat. The house edge is slightly better at 1.36%, but it's a lonelier way to play. Now, for the part that transforms craps from a good game into a statistically fantastic one, this is the secret that most casual players miss. It's a bet that has no name printed on the felt. It's called the odds bet, and it is the single best bet you can make in a casino. Period. Here's how it works. Once a point is established, you are allowed to make a second wager behind your original pass line bet. This new bet is the odds bet, and the reason it's so special is that the casino pays it out at true statistical odds. It has a house edge of exactly 0. Let me repeat that, 0%. The casino holds no advantage on this specific wager. This is almost unheard of. The true odds depend on the point number. Think about it. With 2 dice, there are 36 possible combinations. A 7 is the easiest number to roll with 6 combinations, 1 to 6, 2 to 5, 3 to 4, and vice versa. Other numbers are harder. A 6 or an 8 can be made 5 ways. A 5 or a 9 can be made 4 ways. And a 4 or a 10 are the hardest with only 3 combinations each. So, the casino pays you based on this reality. If the point is 4 or 10, the odds bet pays 2 to 1. If the point is 5 or 9, it pays 3 to 2. And if the point is 6 or 8, it pays 6 to 5. By making this bet, you are dramatically lowering the overall house edge of your total action. The casino will limit how large your odds bet can be, usually as a multiple of your pass line bet, like 3, 4, 5 times odds. This means you can bet 3 times your original wager on a point of 4 or 10, 4 times on a 5 or 9, and 5 times on a 6 or 8. If you consistently bet the pass line and always back it up with the maximum odds allowed, you can reduce the effective house edge to under 0.5%. We're talking 0.374% in a 3-4-5x game. That is exceptionally low, rivaling a perfect basic strategy player at Blackjack. This is the entire strategy for a beginner at craps. Walk up, wait for a new shooter, place a bet on the pass line. If a point is established, place the maximum odds bet you can behind it. Then just stand back and enjoy the ride. That's it. You are now playing with some of the best statistical conditions available to a casual player. So what about all those other bets? The field, the hard ways, the any 7? Those bets in the middle of the table are what dealers call proposition bets. And they exist for one reason, to have a high house edge. Betting on any 7 on a single roll might sound tempting with its 4 to 1 payout, but the house edge is a staggering 16.67%. The hard 8, betting on 2 4s to be rolled before a 7 or any other combination that makes 8, carries a house edge of over 9%. These bets are fun, they're fast, but they are statistical traps. The simple, patient strategy of pass line plus odds is where the real value lies. A few quick points of etiquette to help you feel like a pro. Once a point is established, it's considered bad luck to say the word 7. Players will call it Big Red, or just not say it at all. When the shooter has the dice, keep your hands up and out of the table. And always place your bets by setting them down in front of you and telling the dealer what you want. Never throw chips into the middle of the layout. Craps is a game of streaks and momentum. A table can get hot when a shooter keeps making their point, number after number for 10, 20, even 30 minutes. The stacks of chips grow, the energy becomes electric, and strangers become teammates, high-fiving and cheering for a common cause. It's a casino experience unlike any other. It's a game that looks like a math test but at its core plays like a party. We've now seen the pure chance of roulette, the strategic decisions of blackjack, and the communal energy of craps. But what happens when the opponent isn't just a dealer representing the house? What if the objective is to beat the other player sitting right beside you? Next, we're pulling up a chair at the most famous and mythologized table of them all, where psychology, nerve, and skill collide, the poker room. Here, the dealer doesn't represent the house. They facilitate the game. The casino isn't your opponent. It's the arena. Your opponents are the other people at the table, each with their own strategies, fears, and tells. This fundamental shift changes everything. Unlike the games we've discussed where the house edge is a fixed mathematical certainty, poker is a game of skill, psychology, and incomplete information. The house still gets its cut, of course, but it does so in a completely different way. It's called the rake. In most cash games, the dealer will take a small percentage of the final pot, usually around 5 to 10%, capped at a few dollars. The casino is essentially charging rent for the table, the dealer, and the cards. They don't care who wins or loses any individual hand. They just need the game to keep going. Their profit is guaranteed, a tiny tax on every significant pot. Yours is not. The most popular form of poker on the planet, the one you've seen in movies and on television, is No Limit Texas Hold'em. The objective is simple to state but infinitely complex to master. Make the best possible 5-card hand using any combination of your 2 private cards, your whole cards, and the 5 shared community cards on the table. The hand rankings are a universal language. At the bottom you have a high card, then 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, a straight, a flush, a full house, 4 of a kind, and at the absolute pinnacle the straight flush and the legendary royal flush. But knowing the hand rankings is like knowing the alphabet. It doesn't make you a poet. The real game unfolds over 4 distinct stages or streets, each a round of betting that reveals more information and escalates the tension. It all begins before any cards are even dealt. 2 players are forced to make bets, called the blinds, to ensure there's always money in the pot to fight for. The cards are then dealt, 2 cards face down to each player. This is the pre-flop round. All you know is your own starting hand. Is it strong like a pair of aces? Is it speculative like a 7 and 8 of the same suit? Based on this and your position at the table relative to the other players, you must decide. Do you fold, throwing your cards away and waiting for the next hand? Do you call, matching the current bet? Or do you raise, increasing the bet and putting pressure on your opponents? Once the pre-flop betting is complete, the dealer lays out 3 community cards face up in the middle of the table. This is the flop. Suddenly, the landscape of the hand is transformed. Your 2 private cards might now connect with the board to make a powerful hand, or they might look completely useless. Another round of betting ensues, starting with the first active player to the left of the dealer button. Information is currency here. How your opponents bet or don't bet tells a story. Next comes the 4th community card. The turn. The pot grows. The possibilities narrow. A hand that was strong on the flop might now be vulnerable. A hand that was drawing for a key card might have just hit it. The betting becomes more serious, the decisions more critical. And finally, the 5th and final community card is dealt. The river. All the cards are now out. There is no more information to come. This is the final round of betting. It's a moment of truth. If, after this last round, more than 1 player remains, we reach the showdown. The remaining players reveal their whole cards, and the best 5-card hand, according to the standard rankings, wins the entire pot. This structure is the skeleton of the game. The heart of poker is the battle between 2 opposing forces: cold, hard mathematics and human psychology. Let's start with the math. Skilled players aren't just gambling. They are constantly calculating probabilities. A key concept is understanding your outs. An out is any card that has yet to be dealt that will improve your hand, likely making it the winning hand. For example, let's say you have 2 hearts in your hand, and the flop comes with 2 more hearts. You have a flush draw. You need 1 more heart on the turn or river to make your flush. You know your 2 cards and the 3 on the board, so that's 5 cards accounted for. In a standard 52-card deck, there are 13 hearts. You have 4 of them, so there are 9 hearts remaining, 9 outs. In the 47 unseen cards, you can calculate the approximate probability of hitting your flush on the next card by multiplying your outs by 2. So 9 outs times 2 gives you an 18% chance. This leads to the next crucial calculation: pot odds. This is simply comparing the amount of money you have to call with the amount of money already in the pot. If the pot has $80 in it, and an opponent bets $20, the pot is now $100. It will cost you $20 to call. Your pot odds are 100 to 20 or 5 to 1. So, you're being asked to risk $20 to potentially win 100. If the chance of you winning the hand is better than 5 to 1, a call is mathematically a sound decision in the long run. In our flush draw example, with an 18% chance of hitting, that's roughly a 4.5 to 1 underdog. Since the pot is offering you 5 to 1 odds, the math says you should call. This is the analytical engine that drives high-level poker. It's a continuous process of weighing risk against reward based on probability. But if poker were only math, computers would be unbeatable. The other half of the game, the art, is psychology. You aren't just playing the cards you're dealt. You're playing the people sitting across from you. This is where the bluff comes in. A bluff is betting or raising with a hand you know is likely not the best, with the intention of making your opponents fold their superior hands. It's a story. Your bets, your posture, your timing. It all contributes to the narrative you're weaving about the strength of your 2 hidden cards. A successful bluff is one of the most thrilling moments in the game. A victory of will and nerve over pure mathematical odds. The flip side of this is learning to read your opponents. Are they betting big only when they have a monster hand? That makes them easy to play against. Do they seem nervous when they bet? Maybe they're bluffing. This is the game of incomplete information. You can never be 100% sure what your opponent holds. You can only gather clues from their betting patterns, their timing, and their physical demeanor, and then make the most informed decision possible. This brings us to a concept that separates casual players from serious ones: variance. Because of the element of luck, even if you make the mathematically correct decision every single time, you can still lose. You can get your money in the pot with an 80% chance to win and still lose the hand 20% of the time. Over a short period, a night, a week, luck can be the dominant factor. This is variance, the natural upswings and downswings of the game. A world-class professional can have a losing month. It's unavoidable. The skill in poker isn't about winning every hand. It's about consistently making better decisions than your opponents over thousands and thousands of hands, allowing your mathematical and psychological edge to overcome the short-term chaos of variance. Poker is not a slot machine. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon of focused decision-making under pressure. It's a unique environment where you are your own house, managing your own odds against a table of thinking, breathing, and sometimes bluffing opponents. But whether you're battling the fixed odds of the house or the shifting strategies of other players, the casino itself is a master of psychology. The lights, the sounds, the lack of clocks. Every detail is meticulously crafted. To truly understand the odds, we must look beyond the tables and understand the environment they exist in. Next, we pull back the curtain on the subtle art of casino design and the psychology it uses to keep the games going. From the moment you step inside, you're entering an environment engineered with a single purpose: to separate you from the concept of time and the value of your money. It's a carefully constructed reality, a world unto itself. Notice the layout. Have you ever tried to find the exit in a large casino? It's rarely a straight line. The paths are winding, curved, and intentionally confusing. This isn't poor design. It's brilliant design. This labyrinthine effect keeps you moving through the gaming floor, past rows of slot machines and dozens of tables. Every turn presents a new temptation, another opportunity to play. The goal is to maximize your exposure to the games, ensuring that even a simple walk to the restroom or a restaurant becomes a tour of potential wagers. Then look for what's missing. You'll almost never find clocks on the walls or windows that show the outside world. This is a deliberate tactic to induce a state of flow, where you become so absorbed in the activity that you lose all track of time. Without the sun setting or the hands of a clock marching forward, hours can feel like minutes. The casino creates a timeless bubble, a perpetual dusk or dawn where the only thing that matters is the next spin, the next deal, the next roll of the dice. This temporal disorientation is a powerful tool for extending a player's session far beyond their original intention. The soundscape is just as meticulously crafted. The constant, low-level hum of chatter and ambient music creates a comfortable, non-threatening backdrop. But punctuating this hum are the sharp, celebratory sounds of winning. The clanging of coins, the triumphant jingles, the electronic fanfares. These sounds are calibrated to be audible across the floor. When one person wins, everyone hears it. This creates a contagious atmosphere of possibility. It suggests that jackpots are happening constantly, all around you, and that your turn could be next. Conversely, the sounds of losing are subtle or non-existent. There's no sad trombone when you lose a hand of blackjack. The focus is always on the positive reinforcement of winning, creating an auditory illusion that success is far more common than it actually is. Lighting plays a similar role. The overall lighting is often subdued, creating a sense of intimacy and comfort, like a private lounge. But the games themselves are beacons of bright, flashing light. Your eyes are naturally drawn to the action. This contrast makes the outside world seem dull, and the world of the game vibrant and exciting. It's a sensory funnel, directing your attention exactly where the house wants it. Beyond the physical environment, the casino employs a sophisticated understanding of human psychology. Consider the concept of comps, the complimentary drinks, meals, and even hotel rooms offered to players. On the surface, it's hospitality, but underneath, it's a powerful application of the principle of reciprocity. When someone gives you something for free, a deep-seated psychological urge kicks in to give something back. In a casino, giving back means playing longer. That free drink might make you feel obligated to stay at the table for another 30 minutes. That comped meal might make you feel more comfortable increasing your bet size. These perks foster loyalty and create a sense of being a valued guest, blurring the line between a business transaction and a social relationship. Then there's the masterstroke of psychological abstraction, the casino chip. When you exchange a crisp $100 bill for 4 green $25 chips, a mental shift occurs. You are no longer betting with money, you're betting with colorful plastic discs. This simple act of conversion desensitizes you to the real-world value of your wagers. Pushing a stack of chips into the betting circle feels more like a move in a board game than a significant financial decision. It gamifies the act of spending, making it easier to take bigger risks and to chase losses, because the emotional weight of handling actual cash has been removed from the equation. This plays directly into another cognitive bias, the illusion of control. We talked about how games are governed by pure mathematical probability, but casinos are designed to make you feel like you have influence over the outcome. In craps, you are the one who gets to throw the dice. In baccarat, high rollers are often allowed to bend and slowly reveal the cards. On a slot machine, you press the button to initiate the spin. None of these actions change the random outcome. The dice will land where they land. The cards are already determined. The random number generator has already selected the result. But the physical act of participation creates a powerful, albeit false, sense of agency. This illusion of control keeps players engaged, making them believe their skill or ritual can sway the results in their favor. So, after 10 parts, what have we learned? We've journeyed from the basic math of the house edge to the specific odds of blackjack, craps, roulette, and slot machines. We've discussed the critical importance of bankroll management and the discipline of knowing when to walk away. And now we've pulled back the curtain on the very environment designed to test that discipline. The purpose of this entire series was not to provide a secret formula for beating the house. Any narrative that suggests a consistent way to overcome a mathematical disadvantage is a fantasy. The house edge is a fundamental, unchangeable law of the casino world. No betting system, no lucky charm, no gut feeling can alter it over the long run. The true purpose was to arm you with knowledge, because knowledge transforms your relationship with these games. Understanding the odds demystifies the experience. It strips away the illusion and replaces it with a clear-eyed awareness of the transaction taking place. You are no longer a passive participant hoping for magic. You are an informed consumer making a conscious choice. You now understand that sitting down at a blackjack table with perfect basic strategy offers some of the best odds in the house, while feeding bills into a slot machine represents a scenario with a much higher statistical cost. You know that every bet in roulette, except for one, carries the exact same house edge, and that the excitement of a craps table is built upon a complex web of good and poor statistical wagers. The most important takeaway is this: casino gaming should be viewed as a form of paid entertainment, not an investment. The house edge is the price of admission. It's the cost of the thrill, the atmosphere, and the chance, however slim, of a significant win. By understanding the odds, you can decide how much you are willing to pay for that entertainment. You can choose games with a lower price and make your entertainment budget last longer. Walking into a casino armed with this knowledge is the real advantage. You can appreciate the spectacle, enjoy the social experience, and play the games for what they are. A contest against a fixed mathematical probability. You can set your limits with confidence, play with discipline, and walk away win or lose, knowing that you were in control of your own decisions. The ultimate goal isn't to leave with more money than you came with, though that can be a fortunate outcome. The real win is to play smart, stay within your means, and leave with the exact same peace of mind you had when you arrived. That is how you truly understand and master the odds.